And hello people, this is your host, Iridium Axel here, and welcome to a comparison of two tanks from Mekanism and Railcraft. We're going over the steel tank from Railcraft because it's closely comparable to the Mekanism, considering it takes more similar items. So we're going to go over which one's more effective and in general which one is better for use in your base in modded Minecraft. So the links to both mods will be in the description of this video if you want to go download them or something. And okay, let's get right into this. Today we're going to start off with the steel tanks from Railcraft. So the first step is you need a coke oven, and that is made by getting coke oven bricks made from 5 sand and 4 bricks and turning it into these coke oven bricks and making a 3x3x3 cube and making it hollow. And you have to make sure that it's hollow, otherwise you're going to waste sand and bricks and have a non-functioning coke oven. Then you're going to take some coal and put it in here. So what this is going to do is it's going to slowly turn it into coke coal. It's going to take quite a while. And then you're going to need this, which is called a blast furnace. And this is slightly harder to make. You need 4 soul sand, 4 nether bricks, and 1 magma cream. And that gets you 4 blast furnace bricks. And you need to make a 3x4x3 and make it hollow yet again. So this is just 1 block taller and still hollow. Then, what you need is iron ingots and the coke coal that you got from this, still not done. And that will turn it into steel, again, painfully slowly, which is something to keep in mind. Next, we're going to have this rolling machine, which I was not actually prepared for because wait, did it not have RF? Let's see. Alright, sorry about that. It needs to be powered using RF from some mod. You can even use Railcraft for that. And you use the steel ingots that you get from this blast furnace. You put them in here in a 2x2 pattern, and that will get you these steel plates. And you click to craft them. So I'll go ahead and click there. It doesn't take too long to craft, less than a furnace I would say, and it will just keep crafting them as long as you have those. So, with these steel plates, you're going to put those in a 2x2, and you'll get 8 steel tank walls, which is something to keep in mind when pairing it against the Mekanism tank. So, these steel tank walls are going to be one of the most basic parts of building this. Next, we're also going to want some steel tank gauges. I'm not sure that these are necessary. I should have probably checked that over. But I believe they are just cosmetics, so you don't actually need them. They're just there so that you can see inside of the tank. Next, you're going to need something that you do definitely need, and that's these steel tank valves. So you can make that with 4 steel plates and 4 iron bars and 1 lever, and that gets you 8. So let's look at how this guy is built, and this should be almost done. A stack of steel should get you a stack of steel plates. So, to make this, first, it can be made to be quite small. If we look here, heights 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, diameters 3, 5, 7, 9. So you can make this guy as small as 3x3 and 4 tall, but I'm going to be using 5x5x5 as a standard for comparing these two things. So we start out with a platform of steel tank walls, and then on the next level we're going to have just the steel tank walls in the corners, and this is very important. The frame has to be made out of the steel tank walls. Then we have these steel tank valves at the bottom, and what that's going to do is it's going to give you an output for all of the liquid to flow out from. Keep in mind that I believe it will only flow out if the liquid is down to that point. So if you had this up here and the liquid was only at the bottom, it would not flow out. Also, I have steel tank gauges here, And what these are for is, as I've explained, purely cosmetic, so you can look through them like glass. You're going to continue that up for 2 levels, only without the tank valves. Of course, you can have them if you want, and these tank valves can be anywhere except the corners, so you can have as many outputs as you want. And then you're just going to top it off with a steel tank wall and a steel tank valve. Now this guy is completed. You can right-click anywhere on it, and you can see the contents. It can hold 4 million buckets of 4 million buckets of liquid. As you see right here, I made an iron tank from the same mod, and it has half as much storage, and it's made primarily out of iron. Next, let's move on to the Mekanism tank. First, you're going to need coal and iron to go in here. So let's take the coal, take the iron, and stick it in there. It's going to absorb the coal into carbon, and it's going to start turning the iron into enriched iron. If we come over here, if you take more coal and enriched iron, you're going to get steel dust. If we come over here, take the steel dust, you put it in this, you're going to get steel ingots. And by the way, you're going to need metallurgic infusers powered by RF or Joules or MJ or something like that. That's a machine. Oops, that was an accident. It's a machine from Mekanism. So now we have this smelting into steel ingots. With the steel ingots, you're going to be able to make the frame of the Mekanism tank, which is 4 steel ingots and 1 bucket. Now, it should be noted that a bucket is, of course, 3 iron, which adds into the total cost, whereas on the other thing over there, the Railcraft tank, you're spending considerably less because you're not spending anything on buckets. This will only get you 4 dynamic tanks, whereas you get 8 from 4 steel over there. Next, if you wanted the glass, which is, again, purely cosmetic, you can take 1 glass and 4 dynamic tanks to get 4 dynamic glass. Very even trade-off and doesn't cost very much. Next, for the valve, which will be your input and output, you're going to need redstone and osmium. I've already filled this guy with redstone, so we're just going to load it up with osmium. So that's going to give us basic control circuits, and with the basic control circuits and dynamic tanks, we can make these 2 dynamic valves, so you can have an input and an output if you want. The dynamic valve does not have to go on top like it does on the Railcraft tank, so you can have an input from any point, and you can have an output from any point also, so you can have an output from on top of the tank, on the side of the tank, anywhere. And another thing to keep in mind, if we look at the storage of this guy, then it can only hold half of what the steel tank can hold for the exact same size. So this guy is more expensive and just all around worse than the steel tank. Or is it? You see, this guy has advantages in other places. It's much more modular than the Railcraft tank because you can make it any size. I have a massive one behind us that's been hiding the entire time, and I think I'm storing somewhere in the neighborhood of like either 11 million or 116 million buckets in there. And I think that might be a 10 by 10 or an 8 by 8 or something. So you can make it very large. You can make the Railcraft tanks, I believe, up to an 11 by 11. And if you go into the configuration of your mods, you can change it so that it's unlimited. However, that can cause issues with your Minecraft. Not your Minecraft installation, but it could cause issues with your world in chunks and stuff like that, which is why they keep it limited. The water in here, it has, I believe, the same transfer rate, which is as fast as you can pump it in, and you can pump it out from any location. You build this sort of like the steel tank, where you have dynamic tank all around on the edges, but you can have the glass anywhere else. so you can have the glass on top if you want. This is a dynamic valve, that should be noted. It's just covered up by the transfer node. So you can have the steel anywhere that you want on this. So time for the main comparison. Of course, you can make the decision for yourself, but on my own personal world, it really depends on how much liquid I'm storing. If I'm trying to store, say, billions of buckets of lava as a backup for my lava generators from the Nether, then I'd probably want to go with Mekanism, because even though it has a higher overall cost, I can store all of that liquid in one place. Whereas, with the steel tank, you're not going to be able to store as much even if you make the maximum size. However, otherwise I would go with the steel tank, especially if you're pressed on resources. The steel tank is just far and beyond cheaper in just about every way compared to the Mekanism tanks. They aren't as modular, and you can't make them as big, you can't take out liquids from as many places, at least not in the same way, and you can only input from the top, which are a bunch of downsides to it. But I think when it comes down to it, using Mekanism or Railcraft over the other is really your own personal decision and fits your needs. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end off this episode here. I thank you all a ton for watching, and I hope you enjoyed and possibly learned something. Anyway, thanks a ton for watching, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.